Hi and welcome to today's video. If you're new to my channel, welcome for the first time. If you are returning, welcome back. I wanted to come on today and talk a little bit about how I prepared for my natural birth, for the home birth. I had a home birth when I had my daughter almost 10 years ago, and I also had a home birth, a natural birth with the twins, and they've been very needy, so they want to be close. I have Emil in the back and Lola in the front. He's asleep. She's not quite asleep, but I'm just kind of sitting on the bouncing ball. I hope that's okay, that it doesn't make you guys nervous when I'm bouncing around just a little bit. I'm gonna have to bounce just a little bit. When I get too static, they start getting, or she starts getting fussy. So that is a topic I'm actually quite passionate about. Here is just a disclaimer. Everyone has to make their own personal decision and kind of weigh the pros and cons and decide what's right and what makes sense and what is safe for them. No one has any guarantees for, any outcomes, whether you have your babies at a hospital or at home or at a birthing center. There's no one who can actually tell you ahead of time what's going to happen. It's just all, it's all a surprise. Even how a labor will go, even every birth for every woman, if you have more than one child, probably every birth experience will be quite different. Labor will be different. The babies are different. Like, they're all individuals, and we're all in this process called life, and that's just very dynamic. So having said that, for me, I'm just going to tell you my story, and you can base your decision just on all the information that you gather. That's what I did. So for me, the reason why I had such a strong desire to have a home birth was because, first of all, I had a great experience when I had my daughter almost 10 years ago. I was 38 years then, and I'm 47 years old now. Despite my older age, I never based any decision just on a number, but on the actual parameters that are important. Like the tendency, like how is my fitness and my health in general, and how, I don't know, like how is everything, how do I feel, how is my body, like there are things such as connective tissue and your core strength and your leg strength and your endurance and your cardiovascular system, your blood sugar. There are so many parameters that are flow into even having a good pregnancy and a good outcome. And of course, granted, even if you are perfectly healthy, you can still, there can be complications because something could be up with the babies. You never know. So I went into this pregnancy, of course, it took me a lot to get pregnant. We had we had a fresh embryo transfer, and it was our second attempt. Luckily, we're so blessed, and both embryos stuck, and so they're now here. But every step of the way, I just tried to be very sensitive to how I feel and pay attention to little signals my body gave me. So during the pregnancy, the first thing I did in order to prepare my body to have the best outcome possible was my nutrition. And so my diet, every day when I was pregnant, I tried to eat lots of good, nutritious, clean food. So lots of, full fat dairy products. I've never had any difficulties with dairy. It was always good for me. When I grew up, we had this farmer, and I always got fresh milk, straight out of the cow. And I drank lots of it, and it felt good. So good nutrition, lots of plants, and also good meat. If I had some meat, it was gonna be some beef, nice beef steak. I had liver sometimes, for nutrients and for iron. I made sure I took supplements, vitamin D and iron. My iron was actually really great this pregnancy. So really preparing my body to be, you know, not deficient in anything, but trying to really, from the get-go, with twins of course, trying to strengthen my body. I also kept exercising throughout my pregnancy. There were no indicators why I shouldn't. That might not be the case for everyone. But again, if you're only a candidate for a home birth if everything seems to be going smoothly, you know, if there had been anything that had indicated that something is not okay with either me or the babies, I would have immediately said it's absolutely okay to go to the hospital. So having said that though, here are a few more things I did. The first thing is that I really fed myself with lots and lots of information about birth, about positive and natural birth, positive experiences, so I could go into this without being scared. I wanted to have very objective information and not just like, ooh, what if, and like, you know, like this fearful approach of only looking at, but what if? All the what ifs, I read about all the what ifs in all the books, and I will put some of the books that I read down in the book description box. You can check them out. Every what if, you know, turned out to be something that I thought like, okay, that is very unlikely to happen. And I kind of had to decide like, what do I think the chances are for me personally for that to happen? And what would I do if this happened? Now, I had a great midwife. She also supported me on the path there. So books are definitely one thing. I also watched lots of videos here on YouTube about natural birth, about, you know, watching lots of home birth videos. And I have my birthing video, and I will link it up below if you have not watched it, about, you know, just watching how smoothly even a twin home birth can go and positive outcomes. I've watched videos where there were even breech births and they happened just naturally at home with no problem. Just feeding my mind with things that make me not fearful, but to calm me down and just to make me very confident in what my body can do. I also read lots of science about everything in some of the books. They quoted a lot of science. Also, when I had like about working out during pregnancy, or, you know, like anything that could go wrong during birth, I actually looked it up on Google Scholar and tried to find studies. And that just gave me more information, so I had the feeling that I could make a very informed decision. I also joined some Facebook groups that were specifically about unmedicated birth, about home birth, unassisted birth. I didn't do an unassisted birth. We had 2 midwives present, but basically, you know, they let me do whatever I needed to do, and only, my midwife was so awesome, she only told me what to do. Like, we were just perfectly in sync. You know, I was very grateful. She told me what position to get in so that the second twin after the first one was born wouldn't turn in a weird way, so we wouldn't have like a, you know, transverse. They were both head down, so in my case it was the ideal situation. I did also have the monthly ultrasounds, because I did want to make sure, even especially toward the end, that both babies were head down, and they were, and it all looked good. If one had been transverse or breech, it would have been probably, I don't know what I would have done. I would have just kind of decided then and there and found some way to deal with this. But yeah, making sure everything is okay. We measured, everything looked good, and I'm very grateful that I have a doctor who never ever raised these like flags of like, oh my goodness, you are older, and oh my goodness, you're having twins. And just because of the fact that that is the case, you know, to be like, okay, this is dangerous. He looked at me as an individual. He looked at the babies just like they were babies, at me like I was just a woman, not the age I was. So, you know, looked at the actual situation. So it was great to not have any negative input there, but to have support. Another thing is that I had my family support. That is a huge part of it all. That gave me so much confidence, and I felt so good about the decision because I had the support of my family. So Andrea supported me, Romy, my daughter, supported me, my mother supported me. And other than that, I really didn't tell a lot of people. I told a couple of friends who I knew were also very open and supportive. So, everyone I talked to who knew about my decision ahead of time, and I always said, the plan is, if everything looks good, to have a home birth, and if not, we're gonna go to this clinic, of course, to the hospital. So family support is definitely so important, because as soon as you doubt, your body will do things or not do things like they're supposed to. I always knew that being positive and believing in myself, being confident, is one huge part of the equation. It really is. As soon as you doubt, you get tense. Things don't progress during labor because, whenever you think there's fear, it's a subconscious thing, you go into this fight or flight mode, and things don't normally progress. Which is one of the reasons why I wanted a home birth, because at a hospital I would have felt very uncomfortable. I'm someone I've never, I've been to the hospital once in my entire life, and doctors and hospitals, for me, it's like, okay, I'm grateful that I know that they're there if I really have a situation where my life depends on it. Other than that, I don't ever want to see them, if possible. I also did some tests during my pregnancy to make sure things were right. Like, we always tested my iron levels. We tested my thyroid, my TSH levels, to see if everything's okay there. I checked my vitamin D, and just to kind of make sure that I'm not deficient in anything. I talked about this in the beginning, but I actually asked for those tests because they don't do them normally. Now, with my exercise regimen during pregnancy, I really was focused on, number one, keeping my cardiovascular system going and to not get weak, because I knew labor and giving birth, pushing 2 babies out, is gonna take a lot. I'm gonna need so much strength and muscular strength. I really did a lot of squats. I did low squats. I tried, there are tons of videos here on YouTube that I watched that I exercised with, about opening up the pelvis, about helping the babies get into the right position, and with a pregnancy ball, and opening up everything to where there's, giving my babies the chance to move and to get in the right position naturally. And I absolutely am a big believer in that. If you just sit around and lie around, that in most cases is detrimental. It's not good. There are cases where I know bed rest is indicated, but I know most doctors nowadays are like, oh, just don't do too much when you're pregnant. But really, everyone I've talked to, if you stay active, if you've been active before, you can stay active during pregnancy unless there's something majorly wrong. And let me tell you, I exercised until it was 33, 34 weeks. I exercised every day, and I just couldn't anymore after that. And I'm someone who have exercised for the past few years, every day. And that day that I gave birth, my body was it was at the limit of what I could do. I mean, just being pregnant, just that weight and just that belly and just what was going on, what my body was sustaining, it's crazy now. I can't even believe it. I remember that day, that morning I got up, there were no indications yet about birth happening that day. But I thought, it's crazy. I really don't know how my body can be pregnant much longer, because that's how far I can go. I feel like that's it. And that is, for me, I've been exercising, I can't even imagine if I hadn't exercised how I would have felt. It would have been so much more taxing. So the next thing to prepare for my home birth was, of course, to prepare our home. I might do another video where I list, like I really talk about in detail how I prepared, but I prepared my home. What was really important to me was mental. I didn't make any notes, or like I didn't put up any sticky notes like about any affirmations. These affirmations were like kind of, I had them internalized. So while I was in labor and while I was breathing through the contractions, for me it was always like, okay, one more. It was just a different level of consciousness. I just kind of breathed through it, and it's almost like I got on this ship and I let it, I just let it sail. All I said was like, all I have to do is get on here and just get through and just deal with it. It's like, just do it. One more contraction, ouch, it hurts, one more time, and then I'll push one more time, and I'll push one more time, and that brings me one step closer and another step closer. So, it was all about just getting on that ship and sailing it. No matter whether I was going to go through fire or hailstorm, just dealing with it. Get on that ship and don't get off until you have arrived. And it was just a relaxed atmosphere. I made myself a nice tea, which I didn't actually end up drinking because, I don't know, just during labor I just couldn't. I had like very fast sips of water with a straw. There wasn't time for much more than that. Having blankets and just knowing that, the sofa was covered and there wasn't going to be a mess. There was quite a bit of blood. Not anything unusual, but this time with my daughter there wasn't as much blood, but this time there was a little bit more blood. Of course, there were 2 babies, 2 placentas. I prepared like a bowl for the placentas so we could catch them, and they're actually in the freezer now. It's kind of crazy. Those 2 huge placentas, they were in my body and they sustained these 2 babies here. See? Is he asleep? I can't even see. Yeah, he's still asleep. They sleep so well in the carrier. I mean, they were fussy earlier, and so they just want to be close to my body, and I'll figure out a way. I'll probably make a video where I show how I found a really good way now to wear them both, to where it's comfortable for me and for them. So basically, really the mindset, and of course, for me, it's always this combination of believing, but also hard facts. Like really knowing the science, and that calms me down. It really calms me down. There is this video called Die sichere Geburt in German and The Safe Birth. I think they have it available in English. You do have to pay for it, but it's the best video about natural birth that I have seen so far. There are experts on there. One of them being McCutcheon. The others are all German, I think, but very experienced experts. And it's mind-boggling to me, some of the things they talk about, what happens during childbirth and how delicate that process is, and how just one little thing can disrupt it all, and how that then can trigger this chain reaction of and then things go wrong. So it's a dance of all these hormones, your mindset, your surroundings, like your body and the babies. It's just very interesting. I'm gonna try to find the link and put it below. Like I said, you do have to pay for it, but I think this is one of the most valuable resources that I have watched. So yeah, that's how I prepared for our home birth. I had a quick birth. It was just a few hours. I think around 3 o'clock I had contractions, like real contractions, to where I was 100% sure these are now, I'm definitely in labor. And then at 7:45 p.m., let's see who's here. This is Lola. Emil was born, and then 22 minutes later Lola was born, and both head down and both quite quickly. So if you want to follow our journey along, with the twins, and I will try to make a vlog once a week. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you are already a subscriber, make sure you come back for one of my next videos. No makeup today, I just kind of very spur of the moment. I've been trying to make this video for a while, but like the twins were like, they never let me do anything. So now I thought like, I'm just gonna put them in here, and that's the only chance I have to actually talk and have some free time. Everyone else is gone right now, I'm by myself, and so now I can make the video. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon. Be blessed.